The ocean doesn't roar in Blackwood Falls. It begs. Gabriel stood where the wood meets the abyss, the salt air stinging the narrow strip of skin above his black tactical mask. A rasping, hollow sound drifted from the shadows beneath the planks. "Give it to me," the wind seemed to shape the words. "Your voice is far too heavy for a soul so broken." Gabriel tightened his grip on his pocket watch, his gloved fingers tracing the cold silver. "My silence is the only thing you'll ever taste," he whispered back. The hunt began. The pier groaned under the weight of 1,000 secrets, its skeletal remains stretching into the churning black maw of the Atlantic. Gabriel moved with a predator's calculated grace, his scuffed black leather jacket creaking with every cautious step. The atmosphere was a thick, suffocating blanket of cold blue mist and sickly green rot. He knew the legends of the Pier Man, the faceless entity draped in a sodden dark hoodie who waited for the final soul of the night. Those who lingered too long were found at dawn, eyes wide and mouths moving in a frantic, silent rhythm, their voices erased from existence. The air grew unnaturally still, the sound of the crashing waves muffled as if a giant hand had been placed over the world. Gabriel adjusted his mask, feeling the recycled heat of his own breath. He wasn't here to hide. He was here to act as bait. Every heavy thud of his tactical boots echoed against the damp, salt-encrusted wood, a rhythmic pulse in the silence. High above, the jagged peaks of the mountains watched like silent judges. The chiaroscuro lighting of the moon cast elongated, jagged shadows that seemed to detach from the pilings, creeping toward him like ink spilled across a dark canvas. A sudden violent gust of wind tore through the pine trees on the shore. But on the pier, the mist remained frozen. Gabriel stopped. 10 feet ahead, a figure materialized from the teal-tinted haze. It was the Pier Man. He wore a heavy, waterlogged hoodie that pulled deep over the space where a face should have been. Beneath the hood was only a void, a swirling vacuum of gray smoke and crushed velvet darkness. The entity did not walk. It drifted, the hem of its tattered garment trailing like seaweed over the splintered planks. As it approached, Gabriel felt a sudden sharp pressure in his throat. It was a physical tugging, as if an invisible hook was pulling the air directly out of his lungs. His vocal cords tightened, vibrating with a high-pitched frequency that threatened to shatter his teeth. The Pier Man raised a hand, a pale, translucent limb made of hardened salt and silver wire. It reached toward Gabriel's throat, the fingers twitching in anticipation of the harvest. The sickly green glow from the water intensified, illuminating the scuffs on Gabriel's leather sleeves. He stood his ground, his intense eyes locked onto the empty hood, refusing to let the rising panic strip him of his resolve. The silence became a deafening roar. Gabriel felt his first word begin to slip away, a phantom sensation of his name being pulled from his memory. He reached into the inner pocket of his leather jacket, his gloved hand closing around a heavy, iron-bound tuning fork. This was no ordinary tool. It was a relic of the old well, tuned to the frequency of physical guilt. The Pier Man lunged, a sudden blur of gray fabric and freezing cold. The void beneath the hood opened wide, acting as a gravitational sink for sound. Gabriel felt his knees buckle as the entity's presence drained the ambient noise of the wind and the sea. He struggled to breathe, the black tactical mask pressing hard against his face. The world was turning into a silent film, monochromatic and terrifying. He saw the Pier Man's hand close around his collar, the silver wire fingers digging into the leather. With a surge of adrenaline, Gabriel struck the tuning fork against the rusted iron railing of the pier. The impact didn't make a sound, at first. Instead, a visible ripple of distorted air exploded outward, a shockwave that tore through the green mist and sent a violent tremor through the rotting wooden foundations. The pier man recoiled, his hoodie flapping violently as if caught in a localized hurricane. The tuning fork was working, creating a counter-vibration that fought the void's hunger. Gabriel found his footing, his boots grinding into the salt-slicked wood. He could feel the scream building in his chest, not of fear, but of pure, concentrated sound. The entity began to hiss, a sound like steam escaping a pressurized valve. Its translucent hands gripped its own hooded head as the pure frequency of the iron fork shattered its hold on the environment. The sickly green luminescence under the pier began to pulse in time with the vibrations, turning a harsh, blinding emerald. Gabriel stepped forward, the shadow of his tall frame looming over the cowering thief of voices. He knew the pier man was a construct of the town's collective regrets, a manifestation of the things Blackwood Falls was too afraid to say aloud. To defeat it, he had to provide a sound so honest it would burn through the deception. He raised the fork again, the metal glowing with a faint blue heat. The chiaroscuro lighting sharpened, casting Gabriel's masked face into a mask of stone-cold determination as the final confrontation approached its peak. As the vibration reached a crescendo, the pier man's hoodie fell back, revealing the absolute nothingness beneath. It was a hole in reality, a vacuum that began to suck in the loose splinters and salt spray from the air. Gabriel felt the watch in his pocket grow searingly hot. He realized the entity wasn't just stealing voices, it was building a bridge to the great well in the town square. If he lost his voice here, the well would have enough weight to finally overflow. Gabriel didn't scream. Instead, he hummed a low, guttural note that matched the vibration of the tuning fork. The sound resonated through his mask, amplified by the metal and the leather of his jacket. The pier man shrieked, a sound of 1,000 stolen whispers being released at once. The air filled with the phantom voices of the voiceless, a cacophony of lost secrets and forgotten names. The entity began to lose its physical form, the salt and silver wire dissolving into a fine gray ash. Gabriel's eyes remained fixed on the void, watching as the stolen voices swirled in a chaotic vortex before being reclaimed by the dark water below. The pressure in his throat vanished, replaced by the cool, sharp intake of salt air. The explosion of sound died as quickly as it had begun. The pier man was gone, leaving behind nothing but a pile of wet, gray wool and a lingering scent of ozone. The pier stopped shaking, though the wood felt brittle, as if the life had been sucked out of it. Gabriel stood in the center of the sudden quiet, his chest heaving under his black leather jacket. He checked his hands. The black tactical gloves were dusted with the silver ash of the entity. He looked out at the horizon, where the cold blue morning was just beginning to touch the tips of the mountains. The green mist had settled back into the depths, defeated for now, but the water remained a deep, impenetrable black. He reached up and adjusted his mask, ensuring it was tight. In Blackwood Falls, your face was your vulnerability, but your voice was your soul. He had protected both tonight. He picked up the tuning fork, now cold and dull, and tucked it back into his pocket. The lunar clock in his mind told him he had 3 hours before the town woke up to find the pier a little more decayed and the sea a little more restless. Gabriel walked back toward the shore, the curve of the main road visible through the thinning fog. He passed the cluster of silent, dark houses, their windows like empty eyes watching his progress. He felt the weight of the silver pocket watch against his thigh, a reminder of the legacy he carried and the monsters he had yet to face. The case of the Whispering Man was closed, but the echoes would remain in the splinters of the wood forever. He knew the town wouldn't thank him. They would never even know they had been seconds away from a silent eternity. As he reached the end of the road, he looked back one last time. The pier looked ordinary in the gray morning light, a simple ruin of a better time. But Gabriel saw the truth in the deep blacks of the shadows. The supernatural was physical here, and it was heavy. He turned his back on the ocean and headed toward the center of Blackwood Falls, his leather jacket a dark silhouette against the bruised lavender sky. There were more cases, more shadows, and more secrets waiting in the night script. He was the only one with the mask to face them and the voice to tell the tale.